Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to PSA TV. This is the Wake Up Call segment. My name is Avalon Williams. We have on the phone with us this morning the Corporate Secretary of the Fishermen and Friends of the Sea, Mr. Gary Aboud. Good morning, Gary.
Good morning, Avalon, and good morning to your audience.
How are you this morning? Thanks for taking this phone call with us.
Of course, I'm privileged to be able to take the call, but I'm in mourning really because we're very sad about what is happening to our people. And last week we had, well, I think it's the country's first mass murder. 7 people killed in one shot. Very, very sad time for Trinidad and Tobago.
Gary, I've seen you out on the sea as well with some other fishermen as well, searching for these 7 fishermen who went missing. What was that experience like for you?
Well, a terrible experience because the Coast Guard were called at 7 minutes after 3 in the morning to report the event that had occurred sometime around midnight. At that time, those who were thrown overboard and brutalized, and even Anand Rampasad, who was stabbed, might have been alive still. But the Coast Guard told us, well, sorry, we can't take the report. Go to a police station and make the report. But at 3 o'clock in the morning, to send people to go to another location, and then when the report was made, there were 4 police officers stationed at the Navdamco facility in Orange Valley. They said, sorry, we can't make the report. We don't have the Coast Guard phone number. And so there's a lot of delay. And then when the Coast Guard did get the report, I called at 7 o'clock in the morning to say, have you responded? Do you have full response searching for the men? And they said, we sent out a vessel, a single vessel. But when it got on site, we realized it didn't have the capacity, so it had to come back to base. So it freaked me out because shouldn't the Coast Guard know what the capacity of the vessel is in terms of what it was responding to? And then if the vessel had to return, look at the amount of hours it will take to return and then to send down another vessel several hours. So there was a long lapse. And then I went out on the sea and I never saw, and I spoke to everybody there, there was no evidence of any air support. And because of the nature of the ocean with waves, it's difficult to see if a person, unless you're right next to them or within a couple of 100 meters from them, you wouldn't really see them. So you need air support or a tall ship that you could be looking down in order to have a longer visibility. On the second day, before I go to the second day, we also called the Coast Guard and we said, please, we need air support. And we were told we don't have any money to pay for fuel to fuel the helicopter. We didn't imagine it, and I'm not lying, and I'm not going to say who said it because the minister is very upset about it because his story is exactly the opposite of what we are saying. He says, no, on the first day we sent out seven flight missions. So what we are saying is that if the Minister of National Security sent out 7 flight missions, and we are saying that that is an untruth, then perhaps we would owe the Minister an apology if he would show us the flight schedule and who exactly flew and where exactly did they fly. And until he does that, I'm willing to say that I believe that he's lying because he's trying to save his face for the incompetence and for the guilt that he must carry, because those men may have lived if the Coast Guard had responded immediately when they got the report. They have lights on board. They could have gone out at 3 o'clock in the morning and started combing the area. The men would have been found, and they would have been, at least some of them would have been alive. On the second day, at 2 p.m., we observed one helicopter. It stayed for about 10 minutes, and it went back north. But, you know, something called hypothermia, Avian. Hypothermia is that when you stay in water for a number of hours, then you get the coldness of the water being between 70 and 84 degrees, and the human body being 90 plus. You freeze, literally freeze. and die. You get cold and cramp, and you would die. So by the second day, the Coast Guard had more vessels on the water. But when we do an overhead, a GPS, a Google imagery, a live imagery of Google, and you can do it, you can see that there are like 9 Coast Guard ships. So my question is, why weren't all 9 Coast Guard ships deployed? This was the largest mass murder in the history of our country. The other thing, Avi, I want to say is that it's very, very sad, and I would add it's callous that Trinidad and Tobago, so many radio stations are saying, and commentators sitting back in the comfort of their lives are throwing stones and saying that that these fishermen were doing wrong things. In other words, suggesting that they're involved in illicit activity. I take real a personal affront at this, because although I am willing to concede that there's a lot of lawlessness on the sea, these men were not engaged in lawlessness. You don't go to fish 3 miles or 2 miles off the coast of Trinidad and Tobago to do illegal things. The illegal activity is transporting and running contraband and cocaine and marijuana and guns and immigrants and prostitutes from Venezuela to the mainland, to our mainland. You don't go and park up with a net in fishing gear with boots on and with waterproof equipment, because with waterproof coveralls, and if you're going to pick up cocaine, you don't park up, and 7 boats wouldn't go to a geographic area. 1 boat would go. If it was a drug deal it was supposed to go on, 1 boat would go and pick it up and bring it back. You wouldn't get 7 boats. But the bodies have not even been properly cremated and laid to rest. And people have started, and I mean, it's to me, for the families in question, and myself knowing the boys, that these are young boys whose fathers sent them out to work. And in the face of tragedy, people are saying horrible things, and it makes the pain that much more.
Gary, have you been in contact with the family members still?
Yes. I went to the funerals yesterday. There were 2 cremations yesterday, and there's 1 today. And some of them, I mean, fishing is a brotherhood. So when you fish together, it's like going to war together, because the sea is a very large force of nature. So when fishermen meet, there's a shared, it's like footballers. When footballers meet and they spend so much time, but there's no real risk in playing football, but there's great risk in going to sea. You have whales and sharks and bad weather and piracy, and there's danger on the sea. So there's a bonding between fishermen that non-fishermen don't really understand. So I've met many who I didn't know before, and some I knew before. It's a very, very sad time for us in Trinidad.
Gary, what? Sorry, you can go ahead.
I mean, let's face it, our country is falling apart. I would vote for Watson Duke. I heard he said he would become a new prime minister. I would vote for him, because we need fresh young blood. We need new people and young blood who can come forward with good ideas, new ideas, and dynamism. And we need a new model. The old model is failing us, and I'm not. I was on a PNM radio station, and the guy said, he said, "Oh, you're sounding like you're a member of the UNC." I'm not a member of any political party, but I'm always accused of working for the other party. But I'm not. It's just that I'm recognizing that we're living in a failed state. If we cannot protect our sea, which is so open, they don't have a tree to hide behind. You don't have a blade of grass to hide behind. The sea is as visible as you can get, and we cannot protect our people on the sea.
Gary,
How
what do
could
you
a
think the
foreigner?
government should do to enhance the security measures for these fishermen when they go out and sea?
Well, the first thing they should do is hold public consultation. And out of the public consultation, I'm sure that there would be laws. One law that we have called for, every year we see it because every year we suffer at sea, is there needs to be a protected area around a fishing vessel or any vessel, so that if a person is at sea and anybody comes within 100 meters of your vessel, that should be considered a violation of your space. Fishermen need, bona fide fishermen need to bear arms. They cannot, and now if they want to lock me up for saying it, they can lock me up for saying it, but no fisherman should go to sea if he's not armed. That is just madness, because piracy on the sea has gone out of control, and the people who killed our boys are still at large. They shot one guy in Sea Lots, but there's no evidence to suggest that he was the person who was there. People are just saying things. The bandits are at large and they will strike again. So our men must arm themselves. Now, I'm not saying that they should buy a bazooka, but if it were me, I would buy a bazooka if I could. And if the police want to arrest me for that, let them arrest me for that. But I am not going to go to sea ever again unless I'm properly prepared for these bandits who will invade your space. But everybody can buy a cutlass. Everybody can. They say stop it, stop it. My assistant is saying stop it. That the police will come and arrest me. But let them arrest me. How can I send men to sea? If I have employees, for instance, could I put them in a situation of danger? What will I tell their parents? I send them out to sea on my boat to fish and they get killed. And I send a whole new batch of hungry men to sea to be killed again. You have to see how dangerous it is. Now, we can arm ourselves with spear guns, with cutlasses, with spears, with knives, with stones, with bottles, whatever you can arm yourself with, you need to arm yourself. You need to be alert and awake when you're at sea. Gone are the days when you could slack your net and take a little shut-eye. There's no more shut-eye on the sea. The sea is a war zone. So we have to be alert and attentive, because sea lots is just one place. But there are other places and there are other criminals operating. Cocorit had a robbery 2 months ago. Men came in with machine gun and gun, 12 men, 4 of which who were armed, 1 had a machine gun. They robbed our men and they took 4 boats. There was never anything published in the media, but it's real. It's not, we're not imagining in this. Suknan's family, Bado Suknan's family, 2 of them were badly brutalized 7 years ago. The anniversary is coming up. 2 of them were killed. I mean, people are being murdered over and over and over. And I mean, I'm willing to be locked up. I'm not afraid of the police. They could come and lock me up. I have done no crimes. I consider it to be speaking the truth, to tell people they need to arm themselves. We cannot continue to be sitting ducks and just to be stupid about it and to send our children out. Avi, you have to understand, our fishers, fishing is, everybody thinks that they're a fisherman, but not everybody knows the sea and knows how to fish. It's a science. It's not like you could just get a taxi badge and drive a taxi. Fishing is a whole multiplicity of knowledge, of understanding the water, the wind, the tide, and all of the different behaviors of the fish and of the techniques of how to capture the fish. So that a man who has passed on this knowledge from generation to generation, it's not easy just to tell him to go and work in a factory and pack box, or work in a grocery and pack bags. You're talking about people who are highly skilled and whose skill It's not a transferable skill. So that you can't just, it's the largest single employer in the country and the most neglected sector of the country. So what are we to tell our men? What are we to tell them? Stay home and starve? Go and work as a laborer on a construction site and there's no construction? Go and plant peas when you don't know the first thing about planting? It's like telling a farmer to go and fish. You can't tell a farmer, well, go and fish. You can't farm anymore, go and fish. It's a different science. So there's a real dependency on being able to work on the sea. So,
Gary, what about just across the Tobago with the 2 fishing vessels that went missing as well? Is it Unity and Source, they said? Any update on that?
well, the vessels have been found and the police and the Coast Guard have worked hand in hand and the vessels have been found, but it's like, how to describe it? Trinidad and Tobago had kidnapping about 10 or 15 years ago.
Right.
And because the kidnappers were capturing high-profile people, the police and the national security locked down on it. And today we have no more kidnapping. So crime is something that we can beat, but the security forces must focus on beating it. Now, capturing vessels and stealing engines, the Yamaha is the preferred engine of Venezuela. And you will notice that most of the engines that are being sold are Yamahas because there's a ready market in Venezuela. So it's going to catch on.
Would you say it's the same
on.
incident of what took place here in Trinidad with these 7 fishermen, and also it took place in Tobago with these 2 fishing boats? Is it any similarity in between there? Or was
I don't think it's the same culprits. I think there are many different rings of crime operating. I don't think it's the same persons, but we have offered, FFOS have offered a $10,000 reward for information that would lead to the arrest of the culprits.
Right.
We want to increase that reward for Trinidad, for the vessels that were stolen in Trinidad from and this is the first time we've seen it, but we're going to issue a release today. We want to increase the reward to $25,000 for the capture of the culprits or any culprit with any vessel that was stolen. Once we can get a prosecution, we want to see somebody do time. We want to see somebody incarcerated and locked away, and we want to know who they are, who are their friends, and who are their rings, because we have to take an initiative to help our people to stop this decay.
Yes.
If it were, look at how we stop kidnapping. If we could stop kidnapping with high-level criminals operating in international rings, we can stop these hoods and bandits and murderers from killing our men at sea. I support when an official said that Gary Griffith and Stuart Young must wake up because the honeymoon is over. I take away from that a lot of wisdom. I am not a supporter of the grand charge and gallery, and that is what I'm seeing more than anything else. Is a lot of he-manship and thumping your chest like a gorilla about how powerful you are and driving around with bulletproof vests and 25 seriously armed officers, as though that is an accomplishment. That is not the accomplishment. We need to see convictions. Show me somebody that was convicted. I want to see who are the people who are arrested and what is the evidence you've gathered and when are they going to be put away for life or hung. And I'm totally in support of hanging these murderers. I'm not into this thing about saying, well, no, the life is so sacred. Our life is sacred as well. And they have murdered our children. And murdering them in return may not bring back our children, but it will send a strong message to those who are thinking of committing these heinous crimes not to do it.
Gary, I'm going to ask you for your
Yeah.
closing comment here with us this morning, and thanks so much for taking this call.
My closing comments is hurry up, Watson. Stop waiting. Hurry up. We need an alternative. We need somebody who has a clear sense of vision and a direction that he could take us in. And if not Watson, somebody else. But we can't continue in this vacuum where we're going from left hand to right hand. It's like juggling the same ball without change. We need a new force, a third force, a fourth force. And I think we have to keep on having hope and arm ourselves. If you're driving a taxi, you need to have a cutlass next to you, sharpen both sides. Which you're gonna send a man out in a taxi, taximen are being murdered. Taximen are being murdered. There was murders of taximen picking up. I mean, everybody quarrels with me when I speak violence, but taxi drivers are being murdered. The taxi driver can't be stupid about it. He has to be prepared who he's picking up, and he has to be ready to fight, because after they rob you, they're killing you for spite. Yeah, it's sad, it's sad. I'm not a violent person, but the state of our nation, I'm not a priest either. Avalon, I mean, we're in a state of war.
Yes, we are. I want to thank you so
Yeah.
much, Gary, for this call this morning.
Okay, when the police come and lock me up, you could come and make a statement, because I really mean no harm to innocent people, but innocent people have to protect themselves.
Thank you
So
so
they probably will
much.
want you to, they will come and take a tape of this and see how they could arrest me.
I doubt it really. Thanks so much, Gary. Have a great day.
Bless you all. Bless you. Bye-bye.
Okay. That was the Corporate Secretary of the Fishermen and Friends of the Sea, Mr. Gary Aboud, just giving us his take on what has happened with the 7 fishermen here in Trinidad and also across Tobago. So we're going to toss the news and come right back to the program.